Welcome back to another edition of Our City. It's good to be back after the break. And Tom, we were talking about the September 11th earlier in the show and how the Elizabeth Fire Department was a member, and the fire department always plays a role at the Midtown train station, but we're also going to have a larger expanded role. Maybe you can first talk about the role that the Elizabeth Fire Department has played in the memorial on September 11th.
Well, on September 11th, we'll have quite a few of our units on West Jersey Street, West Grand Street at the memorial, and we'll have all our members lined up, be there to help any way we can, work with the families if any of them are there, and we'll salute and honor the citizens of Elizabeth that perished that day. And it also is a reminder for us to help remember the 343 firemen that died that day, along with the police officers from New York City and the Port Authority.
And Chief, we spoke about September 11th and the role that the Elizabeth Fire Department played. How many
days afterwards, rotating our members through on a rotational basis at the site, and we were manning some of the other firehouses throughout the boroughs of New York City to help them out. And again, like I said earlier, we had 16 members from the Elizabeth Fire Department, part of New Jersey Task Force 1, who were there for an additional 5 days. We were there for a total of 11 days, and at that point, you know, in a recovery process, helping New York City.
In the early evening hours to take a look at what was going on over there. It was pretty, I used to work in that building on the 99th floor, so it was extremely tragic to...
It was unbelievable sight.
I think the eerie part for me that day was driving through the Holland Tunnel with nobody else in the Holland Tunnel because it was still closed at that point.
Yeah, that was a little eerie, and especially when we got onto the turnpike, you see New York City closed to traffic. You would think you would never see that. You're looking for a landmark, which is the World Trade Centers, and they weren't there. It was just hard to believe.
And you had that one street with just all rows of food and water that was being passed out all free, that people just set up and
the West Side
makeshift
Highway
grills and everything, that they just started passing out food.
The citizens of New York and the surrounding, and New Jersey, they were great. They were just great to the people of New York, and they were great to the first responders that came.
Our citizens over there, and we have the monument in the Midtown train station. I think most of the families are going to New York this year because there's going to be a reading of all 3,000 people there, approximately, that passed away. All the names are going to be mentioned, whether they died in the Pentagon or whether they died in the fields in Pennsylvania. All of their names are going to be mentioned this year. The fire department received steel from the World Trade Center about a year ago, I guess, sir.
We applied in early 2008. Former Chief Sisk and Chief Kelly, they spearheaded the request, and through the requests from throughout the country, it was overwhelming, and we finally got approved in 2010, and we were able to pick up the steel this March. We went over, we had a ceremony when we picked it up, and then once we got back to City Hall, small ceremony when we brought the steel and secured it into fire headquarters. It was a really nice tribute. And it was amazing when we were going over Broad Street in Elizabeth. Actually, people stopped and looked and seen that the steel was coming through, and you could just see on their faces that they were, Now,
8 months ago, I don't think we had a complete roadmap on what we were going to do with that steel. But tell us about what we're doing with that steel.
Well, earlier in the process, once we knew we were getting the steel, we formed a committee and we put it out to our members on what type of design would they like to see. And we got about a half dozen to a dozen ideas, and through a meeting with the committee we were able to come up with a good idea of how we want to display our 2 pieces of steel that we have, working with some local design, using some marble, and highlight the steel here at fire headquarters.
And will that be ready for this September?
We're hoping. Everything should be in place by then, and then we'll have our ceremony at fire headquarters for the steel.
And so then it's possible the unveiling would take place for the design on September 11th.
That's correct. Yes.
This monument, will the public be able to visit it?
Yes. Morning, we're there till 5 in the afternoon for our day staff. And we right up in fire headquarters. Anybody's welcome to visit. Just like if anybody wanted to visit any fire station, We're always there. We're here for the kids, and we're here for the citizens.
And the ceremony this year is going to be a little bit different, where we have it at the train station, where I believe 5 of the 6 that perished, one lady, Miss Fraser, died in the fields of Pennsylvania. Therefore, that's why the monument is at the train station. But when we're done with the ceremony, we're going to walk to fire headquarters and have a ceremony there as well with the fire department.
That's correct. We're still trying to work out some logistics, but we're going to have the ceremony at fire headquarters, and it'll be a nice little solemn event for us.
And the fire department overall has been not only strength, but fighting fires when it becomes extremely difficult in the summer months.
Oh, this summer we had a tough year. We had the 2 days that we had, back-to-back 105, 108 degrees, and both days we had multiple alarm fires.
What happened? Does that cause the fire department a difficulty?
It slows us down. We have to make sure that we have enough adequate hydrant, hook it back, hook our hoses back up. And if we have too many open in the same area, our water pressure is just too low, and it causing us a bigger delay. We may have to go a couple blocks away to get a bigger water supply for us.
Now, in 1985, Chief, if you remember, I rode with you in the fire department when Lou Kelly was a captain, and we spent the weekend together.
That's correct.
And what was then Engine 9, which is now the rescue squad.
It's actually Engine 6
It's
now.
Engine 6. The arguments back in the 80s was there's no water up in that end of town.
Right.
So we had to, we eventually put an engine company back there.
That's correct.
Now, one of the things I remember was going to Oakwood Plaza. And I don't know if you remember this, but you and I there was a fire. And you or I were on one floor.
Yep.
And we were walking, looking for the fire. And I said to you, what happens if we find the fire? What do we do? And your answer was,
part of being in the rescue squad, you go usually above the fire, search the fire room and above, and that's usually the most dangerous spot. And we go in with our tools to force entry and rope, and if we have to get out.
And we did find the fire that
we did
at the floor we were on, and it was in the kitchen area.
Yeah.
And we were able to get the people out. But then the fire department with the water came in and actually put the fire out.
Well, it's all teamwork. The engine companies bring the water, the ladder companies, they bring the ladders to vent the building, and the rescue goes in and searches the building. But it's all teamwork. If we're not all working together, then we don't get the same results.
Chief, I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the show
Mayor.
this evening. I thank you for the explanation of the turnout gear as well as this safety system that the fire department has that we were able to get through a port security grant. Thank you for the
explanation. Being here, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For Chief Tom McNamara, I'm Chris Bolwage. We'll see you next week on another edition of our